Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents The Story of Work, A New History of Humankind by Jan Lucassen, narrated by Tom Parks. Preface. The idea for this book emerged in the 1990s, in that optimistic period after the fall of the Berlin Wall. State socialism had failed, and with it, apparently, the idea that the exploited worker could only find liberation in a totally classless society. Instead, a new utopian dream began to emerge. This started in the West, but was quickly embraced globally, with the same enthusiasm with which Coca-Cola had been welcomed worldwide. From now on, it seemed, we would be able to earn our money as independent entrepreneurs, hiring out our creative talents to the highest bidder. We would have to work perhaps only a few hours a day or even a week. We would be so successful that, ultimately, we would have time, vast expanses of delicious leisure time. Our life would be defined by consumption, not by production. In this utopia, crucially, only losers work for someone else. The new true individuals are the self-employed and the entrepreneurs, and everyone craves a portfolio career. And while the banking crises of 2008 and more recently the global coronavirus pandemic have tempered enthusiasm somewhat, this utopia is still alive and kicking, if only because of the lack of a serious challenger. The entrepreneur is a hero, the ordinary worker, a slave. Such a misconception is widespread because it does not reside only among champions of the free market. It is just as much a source for left-wing utopian thinking, which, of course, does not trumpet independent entrepreneurship, but rather glorifies wage labor for the community, and with it, the notion of well-earned free time. I have become increasingly vexed by this view of conventional working people as either exploited victims or as uninventive and unimaginative dullards. Not that I have anything against the entrepreneurial spirit of the individual. But is work, and by that I refer specifically to wage labor or small businesses absent from the utopian vistas of boundless expansion, a dying occupation? Is the history of the work of the ordinary man and woman no longer important to us? And what does this glorification of leisure time and entrepreneurship mean for women's emancipation and the pursuit of equal opportunities for women in the labor market, let alone the valuing of domestic work? Undoubtedly, feelings of vexation are related to my own intense pleasure in intellectual wage labor, and to my upbringing in the context of the post-war work ethos. I am apparently less touched by the liberating spirit of 1968 than I thought. My encounter with work and its history, shaped in particular by contact with India since the mid-1990s, has only strengthened my conviction that it is central to almost every human life on every continent. In contrast to the utopias heralded by both the right and the left, the daily reality for most of the world's population is still one of working 5 to 6 days a week, usually in household and wage labor. And I don't expect that to change anytime soon. Work is not only necessary for all of us, but, on the whole, it also fulfills us. We experience satisfaction from our accomplishments. It meets our basic need for company, both in and outside the home. Work is not an Old Testament curse, a necessary evil that must be avoided at all costs. Work determines our lives and our social contacts, both positively and negatively. Paradise is neither ahead of us nor behind us. I have never understood why one type of work is rewarded so differently from another. For example, why is a school teacher, like my father, paid half or even less than half of what a university professor like me is paid? Why is a nurse, like my mother, paid less than the doctor next to her or him? All are busy teaching the same youngsters or helping the same patients, all with exactly the same commitment and effort. To mitigate this imbalance within a household, we pool income, and in society as a whole, we implement income-leveling tax measures. But that does not answer the original question, nor does it eliminate the original injustice, the disparity in rewards for equal effort and commitment. Vexation may be a good starting point for raising such an issue, but it is not nearly enough of a reason for writing a book. Nor is my personal curiosity about work experiences worldwide and in the long term, rather than only in the recent history of the West, as found in most overviews so far. So, why do we need this book now? My sense is that we need to do justice to the experiences of as many working people as possible, then as now, irrespective of cultural, ethnic, or social background, because only such an approach can unite us in fellow feeling. Recognizing all the good and all the harm that has and can come from work is crucial in order to make changes to protect and enhance workers' lives for the future in our shrinking world. After all, work is an activity that takes up at least 1/3 of the global population's time on Earth. It therefore needs to be understood and appreciated in the broadest possible context. This also may mitigate the feeling that so many people have that in working 9 to 5 they have in some way failed, that they have not and will not achieve utopia. If this global overview of the most important human experiences of work and its organization in a social context, household, tribe or community, city, state, succeeds in reaching listeners, then I will be truly satisfied. But, of course, I am aware that it is only then that the real reflection on all these human experiences can begin. Intellectually, this is an exercise in labor history, but one that goes far beyond the limits that, until recently, this specialism has imposed on itself by focusing on the history of the male factory worker in the most developed parts of the world. In the last 25 years, labor historians have begun to ask questions that go much further in time and space. The International Institute of Social History, IISH in Amsterdam, has played a not insignificant role in this, and I am happy that my ideas have been able to develop in that environment. Gouda, 15 December 2020. A note on histories, methods, and theories of work. The story of work may not be one of straightforward development from then to now, but is the alternative version one of unsystematic diversity? Or is there an internal logic, albeit a complex one, to the narrative? The big names in social science thought so. Adam Smith, Karl Marx, and Max Weber all anticipated a kind of engine propelling the changes in labor relations. However differently they thought about its fuel, the cylinder capacity, and, in particular, its economy. What these thinkers have in common is the decisive force that they attribute to the market, from the moment that it burst forth in Western Europe, and especially in the Dutch Republic in the early modern period. For Smith, the effects of that market were ultimately creative. For Marx, they were devastating. Max Weber opined a capitalist spirit, that is, a certain mindset focused on making a profit, a necessary condition for the success of the market economy. This would have been lacking among, for example, the land-owning elites of Greek and Roman antiquity. For this reason, Weber, and in his wake Karl Polanyi and Moses Findlay, considered these ancient societies to be of a fundamentally different order to the one that gradually came into being in Europe after 1500. According to the aforementioned philosophers and their followers, like the Weber-influenced Marxist Karl Wittfogel, more primitive forms of society existed before the development of the markets for goods, capital, and
Sample complete. Ready to continue?